Hello, everybody. I'm Skip Elsheimer, and welcome to the AV Geeks Lunchtime streaming show, where we watch old 16mm films. And as some of you pointed out, that film that we just watched was pretty late in the game, like late 90s, maybe early 2000s. It was a student film, and I don't know a whole lot about it. It just kind of showed up in my collection. There's no sound. It was AV roll or raw footage that was shot, and I don't know anything about it. I don't know who those people are. There's little to no information on it, but we scanned it, and it was upside down and backwards, so that's why I made it towards right side up, but it was still backwards. But yeah, I figured you guys would dig that, and some of you would. The hairs on the back of your neck would go like, wait a minute, I think something's wrong. But we got behind me the telecine, and a film is set up to watch, and I oftentimes go in the back where the film stacks are, and I pull a film because the title is interesting to me, and this one I have not seen. But the title is very interesting in that it's not interesting. It is Mud. So let's watch Mud.
Conservationists refer to this problem as urban erosion and sedimentation, but these junior engineers just call it mud. After the cleanup, a nice, tidy suburban community. 70% of Americans live in cities or suburbs. But they seldom encounter the devastation that takes place as the farm or forest is carved up into home sites, or the shopping centers, schools, and roads that serve them. Downstream, Lake Accotink in Fairfax County, Virginia, owned by the Fairfax County Park Authority. Developers removed the natural cover from the land, sometimes allowing large areas to lie bare for months. Surveying the situation, a soil conservationist from the Northern Virginia Soil and Water Conservation District and a representative of the Park Authority. The county decided to empty the lake to survey the damage. Engineers estimated that it would take 21 days for the water to drain through the output weir. Actually, it took only 2 days, because most of the capacity of the lake had been occupied by 650,000 cubic yards of sediment. When it comes to conservation, the farmer and the developer have different degrees of motivation. The farmer wants to protect the topsoil because it is essential to his livelihood, but the developer builds only once. While he wants to protect his professional reputation by high-quality building, his involvement in the land itself is short-term. Also, the developer frequently finds his efforts to leave the land relatively undisturbed complicated by antiquated building controls. $650,000 cubic yards of debris. Topsoil, sand, gravel, clay, leaves, sticks, and a healthy crop of volunteer weeds, all amalgamated into a huge mud pie where a lake used to be. The Park Authority estimates that it will cost $250,000 to dredge out just 1/4 of this material. Meantime, try some minor repairs before refilling what's left of their lake. These are off-site damages. The injured individual, organization, or community has no control over the construction activity upstream. Most urbanizing communities don't even recognize the problem until it's too late. Highway construction can cause erosion. The U.S. Department of Transportation has supplied all state highway departments with a detailed set of guidelines for minimizing possible soil erosion from highway construction. All federal aid highway construction projects must apply these principles. However, what you see here is a state highway project with 50% federal funding. Obviously, there is little relationship between the government policy and the practical result. 7 miles of dual highways with 5 interchanges were constructed during a 3.5-year period in the Scotts Run watershed in Fairfax County, Virginia. The United States Geological Survey carefully measured sediment production. Although rain was less than the long-term average, an amazing 70,000 tons moved down Scotts Run. This is more than 10 times that normally expected from cultivated lands, and more than 500 times that expected from low-yield pasture and forest areas. When a bank is too steep, erosion during construction and maintenance after completion of the project are certain to be high. Proper design of a highway project is fundamental. State highway departments realize that it is cheaper to make a proper installation initially and stabilize it thoroughly than to be plagued with a continuing maintenance responsibility. A hydroseeder can simultaneously spew forth a mixture of grass seed, fertilizer, lime, and wood cellulose mulch. This provides grass economically, quickly, and effectively, if proper procedures are followed. But notice, this hydroseeding is being done in November. Four months later, much of the material is gone. Nothing has sprouted. By spring, only a patchy grass cover has grown. Commercial construction can cause erosion. Here, 90 acres of woods has been bulldozed and leveled to build the Tyson's Corner International Shopping Center. It will be one of America's largest, costing $65 million. Rain is the world's most efficient earth mover. But look, the developer has imitated the conservation-conscious farmer. He has built what looks like a farm pond, an earthen dike thrown up across a ravine, equipped with an outlet standpipe through the dam, serves as a temporary silt basin. This big tract of erodible land lay broken open for nearly 2 years while the developers negotiated their financing. The erosion could not be economically controlled, but most of the debris could be trapped, thus preventing downstream damage. All of this material would have clogged Scotts Run and ultimately deposited in the Potomac estuary. Conservationists, engineers, and interested citizens visit Tyson's Corner to see how this was done. The sediment which has been trapped can be measured. In one storm, one of the 2 silt basins here caught approximately 3 acre-feet of mud. That's equivalent to a 3-acre area piled 1 foot deep. But for every well-managed construction project such as this, there are thousands throughout America where no controls are devised. In fact, the average construction firm doesn't really know how to prevent erosion, and most are not aware of technical assistance available from the Soil Conservation Service or other public agencies. Now that the project is nearing completion, storm sewers have been installed, and you'd never know that there once was a critical problem here. Home building can cause erosion. a front yard full of mud from a nearby subdivision construction project. The city attorney took the developer to court. The developer explained that the heavy rain was an act of God. The city attorney countered, "After gambling and principally winning over a period of 15 months, it is apparent that you're attempting to go with your winning streak, and flood, storm, and weather hold no terrors for you." The problem was improper design. The natural cover was bulldozed away. Certain areas were greatly modified by earth moving and grading operations. Some cuts were 30 feet deep. Large mounds of loose and unstable soil material were stockpiled along the uphill side of existing homes. If a conservation plan had been devised, a completely different method of development would have been recommended. One of the suggestions certainly would have been to undertake incremental development rather than breaking the whole tract at once. Incidentally, the happy homeowner who settles here can get plenty of healthy exercise trying to keep his side yard in place. By way of contrast, let's visit a subdivision built with a plan. Although 550 homes will be built in this community, the developer didn't bulldoze trees unnecessarily or indulge in large earth-moving operations. Instead of fighting the topography, he made it work for him by designing and siting homes appropriately. He timed the various phases of the development process to leave graded areas exposed to erosion the shortest practical time. At the start, he installed utilities and storm drainage, and sodded roadside ditches, and laid the base pavement of streets. Each yard was graded quickly and sodded immediately. Although the use of these conservation measures required skill and knowledge, the builder spent little extra money, but he reaped several benefits. He saved his own topsoil, he didn't injure anyone else, and his subdivision is more attractive than most. A developer has built a construction road. Watch. One rain later, and it's been breached. It doesn't take much engineering knowledge to recognize that the water from this huge storm sewer won't flow through that small pipe. Meantime, several tons of earth have moved on downstream. America is urbanizing convulsively. The area of the land is fixed, but the people are increasing. In local areas, where there are no controls, natural resources go down the drain a bit at a time, leaving behind an assortment of difficult public works problems. But assistance is available. The Soil Conservation Service of the U.S. Department of Agriculture is carrying its conservation program into urbanizing areas. And the National Association of Home Builders, through its many local chapters, is preaching soil and water conservation. But it takes local people, conservationists, officials, and developers to devise an appropriate local solution, one that really works. The Interstate Commission on the Potomac River Basin states, "For people living in the Washington region, sediment is the worst pollutant in the Potomac River. Although the Washington metropolitan area is small, it contributes 1/3 of the watershed silt. During urban construction, sediment yield rates are 10 to 50 times higher than the basin's average. The U.S. Geological Survey has measured silt loads in several small streams at more than 2,000 tons per square mile per year. The Potomac carries about 3 million cubic yards of sediment a year to its tidal estuary at Washington, where it settles out quickly. Through the years, over 56 million cubic yards have been dredged, and over 2,600 acres of new land created. The total sediment delivery in the United States is about 4 billion tons a year. Dredging just a portion of the silt from America's waterways costs $150 million. You pay taxes to permit upstream landholders the luxury of careless, thoughtless land use. This violates a fundamental principle of the free market system, that each individual will be responsible for his own actions. Erosion might be a landowner's option, except for the off-site burden it imposes on others. Erosion's other face. While millions of tons of earth wash to sea in our rivers, the sea takes its own toll through wave action. Shoreline erosion is eating away 12,000 acres of land every year. Along the Atlantic, the Pacific, the Gulf, the Great Lakes, and along tidal estuaries, beaches are washing away, the shore is sloughing off. Here in Racine County, Wisconsin, Lake Michigan has claimed a tree, the last in a row of 8 trees. In fact, there used to be a road between it and the lake. The shore is vanishing here at an average rate of a foot a year. Some shoreline erosion on America's coasts eats away nearly 10 feet a year. Nearby, the Sisters of St. Dominic have protected their lakefront property. Jetties jut into the lake to prevent lateral erosion. A seawall protects the waterfront, and what was a 35-foot-high eroding bluff has been shaped to a gradual slope and stabilized with sod. Soil Conservation Service engineers pointed out an erosive underground seepage problem, and so drainage has been intercepted and carried to the lake. By changing the contour from a sheer cliff to a 3-to-1 slope, by installing surface drainage and an underground network of perforated pipe to prevent seepage, by stabilizing with sod, and by providing mechanical protection against the lake's wave action, the sisters have derived a permanent solution. It cost $50,000, but is protecting property worth many times that amount. How much sediment is suspended in the water of Carnegie Lake at Princeton, New Jersey? Measuring it will determine the effectiveness of a system of sediment traps upstream. 6 small watershed impoundments have been built in the Stony Brook Valley. This project was initiated when a handful of conservation-minded citizens formed the Stony Brook Millstone Watersheds Association in 1949. It petitioned the Soil Conservation Service of the Department of Agriculture to build several conservation impoundments in the rural land above Princeton to protect Carnegie Lake from silting up. Small watershed impoundments, authorized under Public Law 566, are primarily intended to prevent floods and thus provide watershed protection. They control erosion and also catch what sediment is generated. This man is measuring trap efficiency. Groundwater recharge can minimize erosion by diminishing rapid runoff. In urban areas, groundwater levels tend to recede. New Jersey and the federal government are cooperating with the Stony Brook Millstone Watersheds Association in an interesting experiment. They have built a special farm pond. Measurements at various locations before and after construction of the pond will indicate whether this method is effective for aquifer recharge in shale-type soils such as this. Early indications are that the water table has risen. Paul Van Wagen, president of the association, has watched the transition from rural to urban take place in the Stony Brook Millstone watersheds. He has solicited the cooperation of landowners to provide easements to build conservation lakes, such as this. Occasionally, the negotiations are long, and all parties must be flexible. However, almost complete participation has been achieved. He concludes that sound development and good conservation are compatible. Successful watershed management depends on organization, but the method varies widely. Here in Toledo, Ohio, Ned Skeldon has organized Clearwater Incorporated as a non-profit organization devoted to coordinating 465 separate political subdivisions in the 6,500 square mile Maumee River Basin. Ned explains to the ladies of the Junior League that 2 million tons of topsoil a year, the equivalent of 44,000 boxcars, move down the Maumee to Lake Erie. In 50 years, silt pollution and municipal and industrial pollution threaten to transform shallow Lake Erie from a lake to a marsh. He preaches single-till cultivation to farmers and 4-Hers, stream valley protection to junior leaguers and Boy Scouts, and coordinated action to local government officials. Industrial Lucas County and rural Fulton County now agree on a common purpose in Maumee River management. The land is at the mercy of man. If he builds in a slovenly way, his soil can erode at a fantastic rate. But if his construction is scientific, if he plans carefully and adopts known engineering safeguards, the damage can be small or even non-existent. Planning costs money, but usually saves more than it costs. In the intricate process of urban development, the developer and the community depend on each other. Long-range difficulties may result if the developer is insensitive to conservation problems, or if the community has failed to provide suitable planning and engineering criteria. This kind of damage can be prevented through foresight and coordination. This developer causes soil erosion, but oddly enough doesn't create a problem. This is a planned community or a new town called Montgomery Village, occupying 2,100 acres in Montgomery County, Maryland. The new town or planned unit development concept can permit greater flexibility, which can encourage better conservation practices. The county stipulated that the developer must not create an off-site sedimentation problem, and so he built this sediment trap. And he built this lake. The sediment basin protects the lake. Both of them protect downstream property owners from silt and flooding. The developer and the county have negotiated an individual agreement tailored to this particular tract of land. It stipulates permissible density, green space preservation ratios, and stream conservation practices. The usual county subdivision design specifications are not applied to permit reduced grading. The developer of Montgomery Village has prevented erosion in a variety of ways. Pre-planning protected topographic features and existing native vegetation. Grading and earth moving was minimized. Roads, storm drainage, and underground utilities were installed in advance. Ground was broken in increments. Silt basins were constructed and maintained. Temporary vegetative cover was quickly applied on graded areas, and permanent sod was installed and trees planted before homes were completed. The new urban conservation is where the people are. It involves trees and grass and streams that meander through the suburbs, but also the possibility of erosion, sedimentation, flooding, the destruction of natural beauty. Today's citizens and their officials are becoming more discriminating, and developers and their engineers are trying new methods, recognizing the value to them of a better product and an improved public image. Essentially, a partnership is being forged between the builder and the community he is building. The solutions are available and economic, and indeed essential.
I guess I was hoping it was going to be more of a fun film about playing in the mud. I mean, that's what's great is you don't really know based on the title. You know, a title like Mud. What is it going to be? So anyway, so that was made by the same people that made 5,000 Dumps and a couple other films about pollution and ecological issues made in the early 70s. It's kind of fun. This next film involves dirt as well. Enjoy.
First five, there's another semi, maybe like a maybe.
So, such a great film. The music especially great. And if you don't know who Daryl Dragon is, Daryl Dragon was Captain from Captain and Tennille, and him and his brother did the soundtrack. So, some great footage there. All right, let's see what do we got. What do we got lined up here? Let's learn about animals and how smart they are.
This dear mother is trying to be very patient with her little offspring. Her babies are just a few days old and hungry too. As the baby deer grow older, they lose their spots entirely. These animals tame very easily and are very graceful pets, but there's apparently no limit to their appetite. As a weapon of defense, they rely almost entirely on their great speed and alertness, and they have to be on the lookout, for venison is an important source of food in many places for man and the larger meat-eating animals. Here's a male deer who eats a half pack of cigarettes at a sitting. It's a cough. Some tobacco. It's not only kind to the throat. Try this in your blindfold test. Its antlers are just growing. When full grown, they shed and are then renewed, a brand new every year. One of these days, this raccoon is going to watch a college on Earth the up to. A bosom pal. Stop tickling. A pickpocket. He's bound to satisfy that sweet tooth of his, persistent little fellow. Could he clean up in the subway? He won't be still for even a second. There you are. Now he's happy. The raccoon is found all over North America. His amusing ways, 1,001 mischievous antics, make him a most desirable pet. Wonder if these selected eggs are all they're cracked up to be. The raccoon is one of the fussiest of animals when it comes to food. He insists on washing his food before eating it. Of course, if there's no water available, don't think he's going to fast. He loves his victuals too much for that. But he does enjoy cleanliness. This egg has more resistance than any we've ever seen. Maybe it's an Easter egg or a hard-boiled. It's taking a lot of punishment for an egg. It's the genuine, the real thing. Head or tail of it. Its long tail is general welfare, getting about and for seizing and grasping. Kinkers are very fond of sweets and bananas especially. Hope it peels to them. They're accustomed to nests. These aren't around. Mexico, Central America, and South America. The coatamundi, a tropical animal distinguished by its long, flexible snoot. A restless, active, nosy little fellow, related to the raccoon but with a longer body and tail. He has the reputation of being quite a fighter for one so small, but in his milder moments consumes large quantities of bananas. Which is the thumb? Thumb fun. Talking about creatures with long snoots, take the anteater. This animal is well-mostly long claws, like jimmies for prying open logs, and the rough nests of termites. Its mark, one of the ugly scene, is titled, All Wrapped Up in Each Other. Getting a new twist on life. Hold steady. The leading bird in the world is the cormorant, a seabird distinguished by a sac under its beak. They have become the emblem of gluttony and devour unbelievably large quantities of fish. They're always amazingly hungry, and calculating fishermen sometimes exploit them, having them catch fish for commercial purposes. A large band is placed around the neck so that they can't swallow. Boy, will he need by cormorant, and have them look it up in the dictionary. A combination of Frankenstein and a house detective. He's sneaking up on you. One of the most primitive of animals is the sloth, which obviously gets its name from its extreme branches back downward, and they're just as stubborn as they are slothful. Their four limbs are provided with long, curved claws, so that with their sharp teeth, they really have 5 weapons of defense. He looks like a cross between a monkey and a bear. Without the aid of a stick, it would be impossible for 2 men to dislodge one from a tree. Plenty nasty to play around with. This sloth has the reputation of being the stupidest animal the Creator ever made. Poor fellow, he hasn't strength enough in his legs to support his weight. He has to lie down and pull himself along the bushes and tufts of grass. Darwin repeatedly referred to another variety of this tropical animal as 3. After a half-day's work subduing this little playmate, his captors are plenty exhausted, and so is he. A variety of tropical lizard is the iguana. This one is a rock iguana. The more familiar species is the free-living animal pictured here. Its chief means of defense is its long tail. While it doesn't eat meat, living entirely on birds' eggs, plants, and herbs, the iguana is much desired by natives as food and is attacked by carnivorous or meat-eating animals. They frequently, under stress of great excitement and conflict, lose their tails, but the iguana has the rather unique faculty of growing a new tail. That isn't a snake, but the wiggling of the iguana's tail. A natural enemy of the iguana is the vulture. And now for some excitement. No love lost on either side. The animal world is full of bitter, desperate animosities such as these. The slow-moving iguana absorbs some fearful punishment, waiting for an opportunity to get a desperate hold on the vulture. Now the kind of struggle that makes nature seem cruel indeed. The vulture escapes, but that doesn't mean the iguana's troubles are over, for the puma, an even more dangerous natural enemy, appears. The much-feared mountain lion, long-limbed, stealthy, very careful to keep out of the way of that whip-like tail. The puma, the very last word in animal cunning, skillful and relentless fighter of the jungle, cleverly stalks his prey. Lightning-like movement, he strikes. The instant, basic, and eternal law, the survival of the fittest.
Yikes. Sorry. I didn't realize it was going to go where it went. Well, let me just say this. Having kept iguanas, foster iguanas, their tail is not their only line of defense. I have a scar on my pinky where an iguana chomped down and almost removed the pad to my pinky with her teeth. Also had numerous scars from the claws. So iguanas are no joke. They're not very good in the cold, and that's, I think, how many of them perish. Certainly that's how we had some that escaped that died that way. But yikes, that was crazy. Deer eating a pack of cigarettes. And so obviously that was not an educational film, even though it said educational. This was taken from a film short, a theater short that was shown in theaters, because it seems to be more entertaining than educational, and so they distributed it. And this guy ended up in Buffalo Public Schools. That's where I got it. So that's unfortunate. All right, let's watch a film called Developing Leadership, brought to us by the fine folks at Cornet Films. And this is educational. And I don't think there are going to be any taunting, both physically and verbally, of sloths in this one.
flood is really bad. There's water over everything in Greenview. There's nobody in the town anymore. Most of the people living in tents up on the hill. And you know, one of their biggest problems is what to do with the kids. The little kids. That's what the relief workers told Dad and me when we went over there last night.
I wish there was something we could do to help the people of Greenview.
Me too. Say, Bill, maybe we could raise some money.
Now, how much money you think we could raise?
We could try. You might be surprised at how
But
much
that's
we
being
could...
taken care of. They have food and clothing and tents set up.
We ought to be able to do something.
That's what I think.
Oh, it's too big a thing for us. What do you mean, too big? Of course we can't take on the whole flood. But I'm still thinking about the little kids. They'll be wandering around, getting in the way. If they only had some toys. Wait a minute! Not toys! Why not? Couldn't we collect some old toys, repair them, and send them to Greenview? Just like Santa Claus, huh?
Bill, will that really help?
The relief worker at Greenview said so.
Well, then I'm willing.
Suits me.
I think it's a wonderful idea.
How about it, Harry? I still think it's kid stuff, but... Well, if we're all agreed, it won't cost very much to round up some old toys and repair them. And if we can get some help, it won't take very long. But we'll be doing something important.
Who is the leader of this group? Well, that's easy to see. What has he done to become the leader? Couldn't Jack have done the same? Or perhaps Betty? Or even Sue? Probably so, but in this situation, it was Bill who sensed the need and understood that the group did want to help, and he proposed something worthwhile. So the group accepted Bill as their leader. His first step was to define the job, to obtain agreement on a purpose. Now let's see how he handles the second step, delegating responsibilities.
Now, how shall we go about it? Where can we work?
Well, how about the industrial arts room?
I can bring some paints and brushes. Loads of them at home.
Good. Jack, you get permission to use the industrial arts room after school tomorrow. Oh, and arrange for some tools, will you? Sue, you get the paints and brushes. Where do I fit in? Well, you and Betty and I can get some other kids to help, and we'll go out after some old toys. And we'll start work tomorrow. Come on, let's go. Oh, boy, that was it.
The job of gathering materials for the Toys for Greenview project went well. The work was planned. Each person was given definite responsibilities. Individual efforts were coordinated. Get toys and more toys, together with paints and brushes and tools, and cartons for shipping. It was a big job for the group. But they did the job because leadership helped them work together.
Hi, Bill. Are we all set to work?
I'll say. We've done all right so far. Look at that stack of toys.
Good enough. But we better pitch right in if we want to get done.
Say, didn't Harry come with you?
Oh, no, but what's the difference? He'd just be in the way.
We can use all the help we can get.
We'll get along all right.
Come on, let's get started. A lot of the toys don't need anything more than paint. And a few of them need only a little fixing. Suppose you girls start painting right away, and Jack and I'll do the repairing.
All right, Bill. We'll see if it works.
Well, if it isn't the Santa Claus Club, how's it going? Lots of dolls for the little boys?
We did all right.
Where were you?
Well, I couldn't make it.
Important business, no doubt.
Yes, it was. More important than wasting my time playing Santa Claus. Harry, we could use your help. You're doing all right. You don't need me. I don't know. A lot of these toys are in pretty bad shape. I'm afraid we'll have to throw some away. You can patch them up if you really try. Well, take this boat. How could anybody fix that? Simple enough. You can do it. Can't you? Let me have it. Do you have any doweling? Sure. It's on the shelf. You mind, Jack?
So good leadership again proves its worth. Tactfulness, the right approach, and another person is cooperating with the group. Now Bill is able to organize the work more fully by sorting out the toys. And he gets right to work with the rest of them. But it's a big job this group has taken on. And it's slow, painstaking work. So, many planes and boats and other toys later...
Oh, we'll never get through. I'm sick of it.
It's not so bad, Sue. We're getting along.
Say, those look great. I bet the kids in Greenview get a real bang out of them.
Thanks, Bill, but honestly, I don't think I can paint one more thing.
We have been painting for a long time.
But you don't want to give it... Look, twins. Let's see, we'll have to give them some character. Now, a line or two here or there, like so. A dash of paint. A dot or two. And there. Which twin are you going to be?
I'm smiling. But look, the repair work is nearly finished, and all these are left to paint. It'll take us hours to finish.
I've got an idea. Harry, you can finish the repairs by yourself, can't you?
Sure I can, Jack.
Then Bill and I could pitch in right now and help paint. Well, what do you think, Bill?
Sounds like a good idea to me. Let's do it.
All right. We'll see who's the champion toy painter. And we'll get done in a hurry.
Now, who is the leader in this group? In a way, Jack has taken the lead. His enthusiasm, his suggestions are urging the group forward. And what of Bill? He showed intelligent leadership in listening to criticism and suggestions, in overcoming the group's discouragement and holding them together on the job. The following morning, the toys were being packed for delivery to the children of Greenview. Here was a big job. Well done. For good leadership saw the problem, provided a plan of action, delegated the responsibilities, and furnished encouragement, tact, and patience. In this small group, the leadership is spontaneous and informal. But in larger, more formal groups, where the leaders may be elected, the qualities of good leadership are the same. In times of crisis, we recognize the need for leadership, but also in our everyday activities, in class, in planning social events, in sports and games. Wherever a group of people assemble or work together, leadership is needed. And who are the leaders? People with the vision to sense the need, with the ability to plan and enthuse their fellow workers. Those who have tact and patience and perseverance, they become the leaders. And what about you? Will you know what to do when your group needs your leadership?
Man, what's Harry's deal? That guy. Just get him out. He's so mad. So mad at giving toys. Old broken toys to kids. Thanks everybody for tuning in today. Very much appreciate pulling out some of these films and showing them to you. I'm noticing that I'm beginning to, when I find films on my lists, I'm like, oh, I already showed that. Oh, I already showed that. So I'm trying to be more diligent in pulling more films from the back that we haven't seen. And if I do show something that I've shown before, I apologize. Record keeping is not always my best suit. But if you like what you saw, please hit like. There's a like button, or there's a thumbs up, or there's a whatever. Also, you can hit the subscribe button, or you can ring. There's a bell to get notified. Also, we love when you comment and share. And you can go to avgeeks.com and see other things that we have online, other shows that we've done, because we've done quite a few shows, and we have thousands and thousands of films that we've put online from our collection and other people's collections. You can also buy me some coffee. I always love coffee. My assistant is back from his vacation, and we like coffee, so that's one way to reward us. It's funny. Every once in a while, I run across something in a can that I like, and this one is. Let's see if I can show you this. If the film breaks, it tells you what to do. And also, this dude here. Please do not rewind films, which is really interesting because that is counter to this, which says to please rewind. So different libraries had different rules. And the reason they didn't want people to rewind was that they were oftentimes inspecting the film when it was rewound. They were looking for any damage to repair. And also, they didn't want teachers rewinding the film back through the projector and basically shredding the film. So that's one way to do it. Yeah. Anyways, join me tomorrow. We'll watch some more films. It'll be great. As always, love you guys, and we will see you tomorrow.